Okay, so thank you, Seamus. I'll just ask you maybe if you could maybe stop sharing, and we'll just bring back if we have any of our panelists there from this last session. I can see Mairead is still here, and Alan is there, and let's see. We do have Connor, and we have Aidan is there as well. Now, I'm just going to go to some of the questions because of many questions coming in. I'm just going to read through them as systematically as I can, ones that haven't been answered. So I'll just go back there. So for Mairead, okay, so Mairead, this one is, it says, unfortunately, some people do not have access to this information. So the detailed information that you provided, because they were not allowed to build their own house and had to buy and had no input into this. Why isn't this information held by the local authority on completion of the build?
It's not a requirement under the building regulations for us to hold that information, but on conveyancing, every new house should have a safety file, which would have all that information that should be handed over on conveyancing.
Okay.
And the health and safety regulations, I put the link in the thing there, so I will admit.
Great, thanks, Mairead. There's another question, it seems to be from Mairead as well. Okay, I'm not sure if I've misunderstood Ms. Fion's contribution. I thought Ms. Fion said that the onus is on the homeowner who is getting a home built to determine whether or not, for example, a person claiming to be a construction professional, like for example, an architect, has recently read and is fully up to date on the latest SR 325 document. That the homeowner should know there are 3 specific documents that should be supplied with all concrete blocks and be au fait with the terminology in these documents. Question that the homeowner should be au fait with any and all of the other technical aspects and specifications regulated in NBC and MSO documents that were mentioned. Is that not the expertise that a homeowner pays for when they employ construction professionals to design, construct their homes, like architects, engineers, builders, plasterers, electricians, etc.?
Yeah, that's quite true, and that the homeowner then must check to see that they're competent, probably on a registered professional list, and that they've built similar dwellings than that they have carried out that work, and that the people that they employ are also competent. Now, if you opt out of certification, that one of the speakers was talking about, a commencement notice with an opt-out declaration, you declare, I am the homeowner, and I'm going to build this myself, and I understand completely Part A to Part M of the building regulations, and I understand all my obligations, and I'm fully aware of everything. So that's the declaration you sign. So you either know it, or you make sure that you have a competent person, that's a registered competent person.
Okay, so I'm just going to read now from the other, it seems to be coming in on the chat as well. So building control and market surveillance has not worked out, and most local authorities have been complicit in not rolling out proper oversight and policing the quarries and concrete industry. Do we have some comments on that from any of our speakers? Seamus, you were a former quarry owner, I believe. Do you have any comments on that from the perspective of a former quarry owner?
Well, I would have, my family would have made millions and millions of blocks in our time. And subsequent to that, we made a small enough number, several hundred timber frame houses in more recent years, but that all is in the past. But listen, there was no quality control. There was no enforcement. There was no nothing, because I'll tell you why. I remember being at meetings of the producers, and there was a joke. There was a standing joke often when you're having your coffee or your drink afterwards, and it's about concrete blocks. How do you know that your concrete block is good enough, that it's of the right standard? Oh, if the blocks stay standing after you lift the mold, they're fine. And that's the long and the short of the regulation and the enforcement that was there back in the day when I was producing blocks. So that tells it all.
Okay. Now another question, just moving up.
Can I just say there, Martina, that a block to be used in the construction of a building must have factory production control certificate now, and this undergoes initial type testing by a notified body, and the factory process has to be there, and there's to be end testing and testing a knowledge of the raw material by a professional geologist. So that has changed, Seamus.
Mairead, can I ask you, when did that start? Like, when was that enforced?
The construction products regulations have been in since 1990, and the mandatory certification has been in since 2013.
Okay. And is it true that some of the larger suppliers are able to self-certify?
A construction product placed on the market, as in a block, must have a System 2 plus factory production controlled certificate. Not every construction product, or not every product produced in a quarry, is a construction product. It's a marketing tool, an EU marketing tool.
I understand the codes and the certification, but from what I've read, it seems that still some of the suppliers are allowed to basically produce their own certification. Is that true?
If it's construction product, they can't. If it comes within EN 771(3),
Yeah.
it must have factory production control certification. Other products don't come under that. Other construction products, you'd have to read each spec individually. It's 420 standards.
Okay. How about concrete blocks?
Concrete blocks are EN 771(3). They come under System 2 plus Category 1 blocks must be used. They must have a CE marking, declaration of performance, and a factory production control certificate, and safety information in use.
Okay.
When you go to buy them, you must ask for a block to build for the end use, specify the end use, and check the end use. Then you give that all those documents to your designer, and they look at the conditions in which they're putting that block. Is it underneath the ground? Is it in the wall? Is it going to be exposed? Where are we putting it?
Okay, so just comment coming in on that one. The factory process is self-regulated and they're still getting away with selling defective products, and local authorities are not policing the industry. And if they had, sorry, I don't understand the end of that. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any further comments on that, but there seems to be a problem of, there may be sort of self-certification going on at some levels within some products that maybe we need to be looking at. Okay, am I missing a question here? Okay. All right. Okay, just I'm going up the questions now with some of the earlier ones. So these are just comments or questions. Maybe get some response. The new scheme will not work as there's no study on mica. There is worldwide studies published on iron sulfides and their effect in concrete. Dr. Andreas Lehmann, along with others, have studied this. I don't know if we have anybody left maybe from our technical panel, but if there's anybody that would like to answer it. And then another question of how much total sulfur can be attributed to the cement. I think that's a question around some of the sulfur and reactive sulfate content. I don't know if we can just check there now how many of our panelists we have left, because that's more for our technical.
Yeah, so within IS 465 Annex A, the total contribution that they attribute to a CEM 1 concrete block is 0.1%. There is consideration that needs to be taken into this and any other external factors which can contribute in total sulfur, particularly if the cement type is not CEM 1, where if there's PFA or small quantities of GGBS blended in, that total sulfur content will be slightly higher, and then you've got to make slightly different assumptions based upon that.
Okay, good.
But that's unusual for blocks produced during the main deleterious periods.
Yeah. That we did see, I'm just thinking about a slide I put up there from Clare, like we did see very high, much higher levels coming back from Clare, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, but Bradley, there is a reason why we would have higher levels of total sulfur in some of our cement contents. For example, one of our major cement manufacturers in Ireland would actually be taking PFA out of a coal burning power plant in Ireland. And
exactly. As I noted, that's one of the things you've got to look out for when applying these into the results. PFA is one of the common ones we do see. And obviously that attributes an additional total sulfur that you've got to attribute to. So I mean, all the testing standards are based to do with aggregates. It's only by that applying the additional effect of the concrete on that you can even begin to extrapolate whether this aggregate would have met the compliance in the first place.
Yeah, could I ask you about that? Because that sounds like a complete cocktail of toxicity. Like, are you saying that they're taking waste products from a coal producing power plant?
Yeah,
it's a well-established cement replacement. It's there's no issues with the PFA product.
That's safe, it's fine, it's well established, it's quite normal practice to use it, and it is actually a benefit because it allows you to achieve a longer term, and Bradley, you can correct me here if you like, but essentially the idea of it is that it creates a longer stability, a more durable final product.
Yeah, there is evidence to suggest that in appropriate quantities, both GGBS and PFA have certain sulfate resistant qualities. Although all these studies, I mean, a lot of the things we've got to caveat when we're applying this to concrete block work is that a lot of these studies have to do with regular concrete or mass concrete. So durability based on the increased permeability and high increased variability of blocks might not be as high as it is in well-formed poured concrete, but there is evidence, well-documented evidence that these are sulfate resistant in appropriate quantities.
Okay. Now I'm just looking to see if I missed some questions earlier. I believe there was a question coming in. Have any of the engineers dealt with home bond or premier guarantee? If so, was there a successful or partially successful outcome for homeowners? I don't know if
I did put up a reply on that. I've obviously dealt with all of the Premier Guarantee claims within Ireland, and there has been numerous successes in relation to IS 398 and block cases. Yes. In relation to home bond, I'm not speaking for home bond here, but there has been a well-established court case in relation to home bond claims, and they've got a third-party liability exclusion on the policy, which basically means that if the defect can be traced back to a third party other than the supplier or the builder themselves, then there is no cover under the home bond policy.
Okay.
Just a point on the insurance. I have a piece here from the Irish Concrete Federation's, their concrete control management company, and it's from the year ended October 20th, 2019. And it says the principal activity of the company is the management and administration of a mutual defence and indemnity fund in relation to claims in respect of employers' liability and public liability and product liability affecting the interests and business of persons engaged in the manufacture of concrete and all related trades, and also the management of claims handling in association with the loss adjuster and underwriter. I don't know where that seems to have got buried along the way.
Okay, so, sorry, Seamus, I don't know if anybody wants to come back in on that. Alan, do you have any response there on that one?
Nothing that would benefit the conversation, to be quite honest. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to not miss any questions. Can Aidan explain why NSAI created a DCB standard block scheme that was flawed by the IS 25-9-10 DCB ground scheme when it excluded iron sulfides, which is the predominant problem in Donegal and not mica as promoted. Petrolab Suite B visual estimate result was showing 1 to 2% of pyrrhotite, calcifarate, marcesite, and others, and the test suite C are showing levels well in excess of 0.1. I suppose it's saying, like, why were these things not considered in the original IS 465 standards when it concentrated on mica?
Well, I'm going to be very careful what I say, because there's obviously some very inflammatory comments there, so I'm not going to reply to any of those. What I will only say is that there was a significant amount of people on the IS 465 committee. All stakeholders were represented, including quarries, Department of the Environment, GSI, which is Geological Society of Ireland, geologists, the primary testing laboratories within Ireland, etc. And all knowledge was brought to the IS 465 committee at the time. The standard that was produced at that time was deemed to be fit for purpose, with all of the knowledge base that was present and available to all the people there, or known to the people there. I have said ad nauseum that there is more information now available. More research needs to be done as to validate that information or to see how it applies to the IS 465 scenario. We need to have hard facts and be able to have agreement at the IS 465 committee and bring that information to the 465 committee, and then if need be update it. There's never any difficulties in doing that.
Okay, thank you, Aidan, for answering that. So Mairead has also sent some links in there. Please have a look to panelists and attendees with some links for going further and looking for further resources that may be of help. So quite a lot of links there. It's in the chat area. I'm just going to check if there's anything coming in on Q&A. We're coming up to time now. Yeah. Okay, I think we've covered everything we can. We've covered quite a lot of questions, and I want to sincerely thank every single one of you that have given your time today for this discussion, and it really helps open up questions for the research moving forward. And I do think we have homeowners here from all of the counties impacted that have at some point during the day attended. So thank you very much, and please, if you have time tomorrow, if you'd like to attend and just have a look and see what's happening, we're moving on to new builds and future thinking options in the session before lunch anyway. Yeah, so do you want to say anything, Mary?
Just on behalf of the CPAG, I would certainly like to thank all of you who contributed so well today, and we're certainly more educated as a result, but I'm not sure that we're any closer to getting our houses replaced or rebuilt, because quite a lot of our houses, well, all of our houses in County Clare have pyrite, and it's unfortunate that some of us probably won't ever see the rebuild. And it's just very disappointing that everything has to go on and on and on. And we want more research, we want more of this and more of that. And quite honestly, I'll direct this at Aidan now, because Aidan obviously seems to know a lot more than the rest of us. Certainly Aidan, a lot of people have been sending in messages there to me, telling me that they don't have time. Time is not on our side. And we're certainly very disappointed, I should say, really, that the government isn't seeing fit to put pressure on and to just expedite the whole thing, because a lot of us in County Clare are in our 60s and 70s, and a lot of people are saying they want to sell their houses, they want to downsize, and they haven't the hope of doing anything. So Aidan, with your context, maybe you might be able to put a bit more pressure on. And I just want to thank you and thank all of our people who contributed this morning and this afternoon, and it certainly was well worthwhile. So we will see some of you hopefully tomorrow. So thanks a million and good luck.
Thank you for that.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Thank you all.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.